gold! He could be too far. No, he's streaking. Oh, what a catch!
Puts a spicy forehand out in front of Naomi Morcilla.
Wu for the win. Team Canada. Darren Wu!
Santos with the layout grab.
Oh, that fantastic grab. The claws of Chapa.
Canada just became the world champions.
Yo, Canada and the rest of the world, you're listening to the Huckin A podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Theo Wan from Toronto, Ontario.
And I'm Danie Proby. I'm from Vancouver, actually New West, BC. And this is your coast-to-coast guide to all things Canadian Ultimate. So, Theo, last week we did an episode all about jersey trades. And it was a pretty fun episode. Our guests were awesome. How do you feel about it?
I mean, I really enjoyed hearing the stories. Made me kind of jealous, made me wish that I had maybe played some juniors ultimate, get in the market, the trading nights. So that was, that's something that I definitely wish I did back in the day. What about you? I know you've probably done some jersey trades in your day, but we also got some pretty cool jersey trade entries as well. So do you want to talk about the kind of contest we ran earlier this week?
Yeah, so first of all, we have sick merch from both our sponsors, BE and VC. And so we were doing a bit of a giveaway for Revo hoodie. No, it was a jersey. And so, yeah, we're going to announce the winner here today. We do have one honorable mention, and we had lots of great submissions. Like, shout out to Maggie Yang from Vancouver for posting a photo of my jersey from traffic back in the day. That's sweet. Love to see it. But do you want to say who our honorable mention is? You know this person, right?
Yeah, I do know this person. I apparently screwed up his last name before, so hopefully I get it right this time. Daniel Eye to Eye Photography. You might know him if you're in the East Coast, especially taking them photos for you for your new Facebook profile picture. So his story comes from Kaimana. I hope I get that right. Kaimana Classic. A tournament out in Hawaii, is it? Is that right, Danie?
Yep.
Is it in Hawaii?
Yep.
Never played it, but he tried to make a trade with a Japanese university team, and from what he told us, they offered him a pen instead, which is kind of a weird offer, but instead he got some shorts. So he got like a shorts trade. Not the sweet jersey that you're necessarily looking for, but hey, that's still a trade with a team that you'll probably never play again. You know, a Japanese university, you might never ever see them again. So I backed the trade, even if it's just for the shorts there. So that's one of our honorable mentions. We had some others, like there was a one trade for like a Pokemon Elite Four jersey for like a Rhino jersey, which was really cool. And another shout out, a jersey from the University of Buffalo, their team Green Eggs and Ham. So that's kind of cool. But Danie, why don't you announce the winner? Because they're going to win their own jersey, and they have a pretty cool story to go with it.
Yeah, so our winner just sent this photo, and it's just an epic haul. There's just so many jerseys in it, and they're so bright and colorful, and they're from lots of different places. So the trade was via Reddit. So there was like a secret Santa or jersey trade via Reddit, and the winner is Kyle Hunter. So congratulations.
Cool.
Shout out to Ottawa and Elevate coaches over there. So Kyle got a bunch of jerseys from South Africa, also from some really cool places like New Zealand. I think there's a jersey in there as well. And,
New Zealand, a couple things.
Yeah, and every single item that came in the package had a written story about like why the jersey was there or how it came to be. So a really cool idea, and I think I want to get involved in that next time it happens. So congratulations, Kyle.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a pen pal for life there, Kyle. I know he's a fan of the podcast, so do appreciate it. And Danie, that's probably not the only giveaway we're going to do, right? So what we're telling the people is keep an eye out for more giveaways on the Instagram.
Yeah, we love merch, so we want you to have our merch. It's going to be sick.
Exactly. And now we're going to kind of move into talking about the community spotlight we're doing. We're doing Newfoundland today. Ultimate Newfoundland. I've never been there personally, Danie. Have you ever ventured out there, to the far East Coast, the true East Coast, as they say, the Maritimes out there?
I've never been there. I have some friends that live out there. It looks so beautiful. So eventually I'll make my way across this great nation. But no, I did meet Nick, however, in 2018 at the Ultimate Canada Conference. I had never been to these UCC events before, and I think we're going to have to do a spotlight on them themselves because I was asked to speak about our leadership program with Elevate at that conference, and I had never been. And I think it was Kevin Underhill told me, he's like, this is the best party you'll ever go to. And I was like, what? It's a admin and coaching conference. Like, I didn't understand. And he was right. It is a wild time. So I met Nick there, and he's just doing incredible work in Newfoundland. So I'm really excited to talk with him and learn more about what they're doing. And Melissa too.
Yeah. Yeah. Melissa Wheeler, Tempest Ultimate, and she is also involved there. So we're excited to hear from them in a couple minutes here after we run with the news. But for those who have been to UCC, the Ultimate, the Canada Coaching Conference, if you have a story and you want to throw it on the Beaver Tales, as long as it's kind of, PG, right? Danie, maybe like something a little bit more that people could digest on the podcast. Maybe you could enter it there on the Beaver Tales or something.
Yeah, I've got lots of stories from the two that I've been to. So I know that they're out there. As long as they're like PG-14 even, they could be a little risque. It's okay.
Yeah. We'll go PG-14. That's fair. And yeah, we'll head to the news. Is that right, Danie? Let's head to the news.
We now have breaking news.
All right. So for the news, we're going to start with the West Coast. I know girls and boys on the Vancouver Island have been doing practices full steam ahead. Everything's going super well there. I've been doing the traffic pod practices, as we've talked about before, and we were actually adding a little bit of defense, which has been really fun. And Red Flags tryouts, I think, are going to be coming up. The tryout form is closed now, so we'll see what happens there.
Ooh.
It's very exciting. So actually the other night when I was at the traffic practice, I think there was like a pod of Blackfish players on the one field, and I saw some people throwing a Frisbee and doing spike ball in another field. And I just got a little emotional. Felt like Frisbee season is back. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Love to see it. And Furious is doing quite a big roster right now. They pulled up some of the better Blackfish players to practice with them in their pods, which I think it's a good way to get a good look at those kind of younger up and coming players. So yeah, and this women's team that I'm coaching is going super well. We've had, I think, 7 practices. There's over 70 people in the Facebook group, and it's been fun. It's been a really good vibe, and I'm really excited. And it still has no name, so maybe we can crowdsource.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah. Well, we can do something on social to try to get a name. But one thing I did want to talk about, because I don't know if it's going to be affecting the East teams as much, because the college scene is different there than in Vancouver. But so say you're a UBC student who plays on the UBC. If you were to, say, play traffic this year, you have all your fees for traffic, and you might have 2 college national tournaments this year. So imagine playing a traffic season.
That is true.
You have your college nationals in December and college nationals again in potentially May. Financially, how do they support that? I just don't understand how those players are going to do it. It's such a weird year. Yeah,
hopefully maybe they saved up some money during COVID and weren't going out. But for sure, I think, Danie, as you know, a larger problem in Ultimate, and just in terms of which people groups and demographics can access Ultimate. And as you're explaining, to play both college and club, that's like a lot of funds, especially when you're flying, a lot of miles to San Diego, or wherever college nationals is going to be as well.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. And fundraising, probably, maybe asking the parents. I don't know the answer there.
I know it's tough.
I'm sure there's lots of people who are definitely qualified athletically to go and play for these teams, but financially and resource-wise, they just don't have the means. So it's definitely something that we can explore as a podcast, but we definitely can't give all the ansers to, right? So
what? We can't,
definitely a good thing to think about.
We can't solve that problem? Are you sure? That's not within our scope?
We could try.
Okay.
We could try, but...
well, that's the West, Theo. I would love to hear what's going on over in the East.
Yeah, I feel like whenever we split it into West East, it's almost like back in the 90s, like the West Coast, East Coast, like rap, like it was like the rivals. It's kind of like West Coast, East Coast right now, because I know we got the chats going. That's where we get a lot of our news. So shout out to Halifax here. So I'll give you some news from them. So Madhouse, which is one of their open teams along with Red Circus, they're going to be pairing up for 2 nights of practice starting June 21st. So that's not too long from now. So that's sweet. And Salty, their women's team, has started practices in small pods. And they're going to do full practices 1 night a week throughout the summer. And if you're on TikTok, you got to sauce a follow to the women's team out in Ottawa, Stella. They've been apparently riding hard on the TikTok game. I'm not on TikTok, Danie. I think you are. So maybe you've seen some of their TikToks and you're like into that. But give them a follow. Good. It's cool to see Ultimate teams engaging, other people. And so I like it. I mean, I'll back it. I know BC's been practicing, but for Ontario, we're finally up to, you can have 10 people outside. Let's go. I was driving downtown yesterday. Patios open. Let's go. Patio dining. So things are happening out here in Ontario. So we're really excited about that. Pods starting up. You'll see teams starting to, they posted their forms, but definitely some pod practices happening. And then hopefully we can get to 25 eventually and start to do some cool stuff. But exciting things, of course, and not really related to Canada at all. But I just want to give a shout out for Ultiworld's coverage of the Richmond Cup, which is happening or would have happened by the time you listen to this podcast. And so you can check out some of their coverage for that. But that's like a mixed tournament with some teams that you might have heard of in AMP and Space Heater. So a mixed tournament. And that it doesn't fall in the scope of Canada. But Danie, it gets me excited that Ultimate's happening, not just AUDL now, but we got some club mix kind of happening as well. So get fired up.
Yeah, it's so exciting to even just think about tournaments happening, even if we're not participating in them or whatever, just to see people posting practice stuff. You're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here, it's very great. So speaking of games being played, you got some hot off the press AUDL news, right?
Yeah, we could have delivered it last week, but we record a few days before we actually release. So now if you've been following AUDL, that the Canada Cup has been announced. 8 games for each team, 2 home, 2 away against, if you're Toronto, you play Montreal, you play Ottawa. And it starts on July 17th, tentatively, of course, based on health guidelines. Always got to be aware of that. Montreal playing Toronto. And something added bonus, $5,000 cash prize, that a little added motivation for the players. And the championship location to be determined. But the fact that, we're hearing things about things happening in our country is pretty sweet. And when we get news of, Canadian club tournaments and nationals or anything like that, we'll be sure to give the audience the 411, as they say. I don't know if kids say that anymore, but we'll go with it.
I don't know what kids say anymore anyway, so we're good. We're good. That's so exciting. Frisbee is so exciting. And I know that pretty soon, I assume, once you are doubly vaccinated, you don't have to do the 2-week quarantine when you're coming back. So it's making me feel like tournaments in the States might actually be a possibility this summer or definitely this fall. So exciting stuff.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking that is to be true because I'm pretty sure a lot of the players who are already playing right now are double vaxxed because, it's moved a lot further in the States. But my parents just got double vaxxed last night. I got the first dose of the microchip, as they say, 5G connectivity. I think that's the joke going on. So I got mine a week ago. So that's like pretty cool. I know you got yours, Danie. I don't know when your second one is. I was wondering
why your internet seemed faster.
Oh my gosh. Unreal. Throws a sweet joke on the podcast there. We'll take it. So yeah, get vaccinated, I guess. Then you can play Ultimate sooner, right? So that's pretty cool. Double vax.
Health experts now.
Yeah, apparently. So we're not only like a social causes podcast, we're now like a health podcast, Danie. So we're really just branching out.
Yeah, when they say you got a niche down, we're branching out. So we're too niche. So
and so now we're gonna head to our sponsor segment. Little quick shout out to Be Ultimate, Be Better Than Ever. We'll play that for you. And then once we come back, you're going to see the lovely panel of Nicholas House and Melissa Wheeler. We're going to do our first community spotlight. Really excited for it. Lots of cool things happening in that province, and if you don't live near there, you don't know about it. So stay tuned and get educated about what's going on in Newfoundland. This episode is brought to you by Be Ultimate Apparel. Based out of Vancouver, BC, Be Ultimate is climate neutral certified and designs products that are built to perform. I personally love my 2 sun hoodies from them, and I rock them wherever I go. If you want to learn more about Be Ultimate, or if you're a club team captain and want to take advantage of their no strings attached offer for a free jersey, head over to beultimate.ca or visit the link in the show description.
This is Quinn Snyder from Winnipeg General Strike, Team Canada, and the Minnesota Windchill, and you're listening to Huckin A, Ultiworld's newest podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.
Welcome, everybody, to our main event. We are so lucky to have both Nick House and Melissa Wheeler here with us to talk all things Ultimate Newfoundland and Labrador. So let's start with you, Melissa. You can introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. My name is Melissa Wheeler. I am currently Vice President of Ultimate NL. And I also was on your podcast a couple episodes ago because I'm one of the captains of Tempest Ultimate, which is the women's club team that we have here in St. John's.
Nice. Awesome. And Nick?
Hey, everybody. I'm Nick House. I'm the president of Ultimate Newfoundland and Labrador, and I was also featured on the podcast to give an update. I'm a player and a captain of Regiment Ultimate, an open club team here in St. John's, Newfoundland.
Yeah, you both do good work, and you're very, you are kind of what people would think of if they think of Ultimate Newfoundland and Labrador, so we're very lucky to have you on.
Thanks for having us.
I'm glad to be here.
All right, we're going to get started here. We're going to go open-ended to get things going. So, Nick, we're going to start with you. What's the growth been like for Ultimate NL the past, let's say, 5 years?
Yeah, I'm happy to take you through it. Myself and Melissa have been pretty fortunate to be involved with Ultimate NL during a period of what we would consider pretty impressive growth at all levels of the sport. When we started volunteering as board members around 2016, there's probably about 700 total players, youth and adult. And then just before COVID, we peaked with about over 1,200 sanctioned members playing youth and adult. There's been growth in a ton of different areas. We've got Ultimate happening in areas of the province where there was Ultimate not happening before, especially in small rural schools where even sport doesn't typically happen a lot, but now kids are playing Ultimate. Our board of directors has grown significantly. We have a lot of skilled board members. We've added board positions. Our operating budget has grown by about $100,000 from $40,000 to $140,000. It's just it kind of captures what type of programs are running and how much we've expanded.
Sweet. And Melissa, if you have anything to add?
Well, I think that what I'm going to add might come in some of your later questions, just about like how we have achieved that growth and kind of looking into what areas in particular. We've done a lot of work as a board focusing on gender equity. We have currently the only Great Grandmasters League in Canada, so we've been expanding into areas that have kind of previously been untapped before, and it's obviously evident in our membership base. But like Nick said, it reflects the work that the board is doing and all the different programs and services we are offering.
So you mentioned getting into more rural schools, and that's awesome. I'm particularly passionate about Juniors Ultimate. So can you speak to a little bit of that, a little bit more on the Junior Ultimate partnerships in schools?
I'm happy to field that one. I was lucky enough to present on this topic at the Ultimate Canada Conference in 2019. Our success with Ultimate in schools is almost entirely in part with our partnership with School Sport NL, who is our school sport governing body here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Through a lengthy application and review process, Ultimate was approved as a foundation sport in School Sport NL. Our application and our technical standard that we designed for our sport focused on a type of Ultimate that could be played in school gyms with very few teammates and participants. So we used the C4UC model, which is the Canadian National 4-on-4 Championships of 4-on-4 Ultimate, with 2 male matching and 2 female matching players on the court at the same time. Luckily it was embraced. It was really successful in our first year. We went from 10 high schools that were almost entirely focused in the St. John's area to 27 schools in 1 year. And a lot of those were rural schools with under 100 or under 50 high school students. And some of them were in schools where there wasn't any other high school team sports because they just didn't have the numbers. So it was incredible to see. It was so fun to hear about all the new Ultimate players who were playing sport in rural areas that weren't before. So we couldn't be more proud of that growth.
No kidding. That's amazing.
And just, I wanted to paint a picture for maybe listeners who haven't been to Newfoundland before, Newfoundland and Labrador, just to let you know some, like, what our geography looks like. So our whole province has 521,000 people. And most of those people, probably half, are located in St. John's and the surrounding cities. So we have Mount Pearl, Paradise, CBS. Those are kind of the big, we're all St. John's Metro. Then we have 27,000 people in Labrador, and then the rest is spread out over our large island. And so to get into rural schools has been no small feat, actually. Even if you just look at a map of our province, you can kind of understand that there's regions of our province, but to get into those, it's nice to have people on the ground, which we don't really have. So we have all 10 of our board members right now are in St. John's. All of our established leagues are in St. John's. So that's one of kind of the things that we've been really focusing on is how do we get into rural schools? How do we get to Labrador? Because, we are an island. So to get to Labrador, we'll have to probably fly or take the ferry, at the top of the province. So those are just some of the challenges that we've been overcoming, like just the geography of our province. But also the population challenges, because we don't have that many experienced Ultimate players outside of St. John's. So being able to bring that, I guess, knowledge and just idea of how to play the game, what are the basic fundamentals, those are things that we're also working on with our board. Our sport development coordinator, Sully, Kathleen Sullivan is her name, but we all call her Sully. She's been working a lot to actually make the community coaching course like a part of like a PE in-service that teachers can do. So that's kind of how we're doing that. We're trying to teach the teachers so that they can teach their students. And like Nick said, these are like an Ultimate team is a great option for a rural school that might not have that many students in it. So that's our angle. That's what we're really focusing on.
Wow.
And I'll add 2 quick anecdotes and one funny joke I told at the UCC. So one of them is we noticed immediately that access to equipment was really difficult in rural schools. I went to a tournament on the west coast of Newfoundland in a school that I grew up playing high school basketball in and losing a lot. And the first Ultimate game was happening there that ever happened on the west coast of Newfoundland, and they were using a giant foam frisbee with a hole in the middle. And that's what the team had been practicing with all year. So we took that back to Ultimate Newfoundland and Labrador, and we started the Discs for Schools program. And we just gave out free discs to any school that requested it for whatever you wanted to do. And we had 55 requests, and we've got about 800 discs to give away. So, it's just one less barrier that rural schools kind of have to compete with. And then I forgot the other point, but the
story is there the anecdote?
So this is I got my joke, which is way better.
Yeah.
I made this. I pointed at a map at the Ultimate Canada Conference, and I just to quantify what the population of Newfoundland was like, and I said basically there's a line, and it's somewhere around here in Newfoundland, and on this side of the line there's more moose than there is people. That's just how rurally populated it is, and it's true. So there's a lot of land out there, and there's not many people. We've still got to cover it. We've still got to help people play Ultimate out there.
See, I thought when you said that you made a joke with a map that you were going to be like pointing to a place in Canada and see if anyone noticed that you weren't pointing to Newfoundland. But the moose thing is way better.
Yeah, it looks like it's a part of your logo as well, like of your club team there. Is that like a little behind the scenes story with that as well, or?
So you're both close, but not right. It's a caribou, and it's similar to Newfoundland Regiment, and there's a monument in Newfoundland and a few places in the world called Beaumont Hamel.
Nice.
I think the monument's called Beaumont Hamel. The Trail of the Caribou. Great historic, tidbit. You can look it up after, but
definitely will.
We love it.
Yeah, Danie, we did mention earlier that we were branching out, right? We said like we're becoming like a health podcast.
Yeah, Canadian history.
So maybe we're becoming Canadian history podcast right there as well. But Melissa, you spoke to something earlier about the gender equity focus for your organization. So can you talk about how the organization actually set out to do that? Because oftentimes we hear about, organizations or groups setting out to do it, but like, what did it actually take? What steps did you partake in there?
So the gender equity focus is what actually brought me back to the board. I had a brief stint on the Ultimate NL board in 2015, but I didn't come back until 2018. And that's kind of because, I guess in 2017, Nick had gone to one of the Ultimate Canada conferences. He came back in November, and he mentioned how there was, a number of other, PSOs with gender equity committees, and he wanted to start something here. So he reached out to basically every, facet of Ultimate here in St. John. So he asked us if we wanted to kind of just form a committee. So at the time I was a board member of Swirl, which is the women's league. I was actually on the board. I only just gave it up a few months ago. St. John's Women's Ultimate Recreation League. So it's a women's only league. So but I was also, and still I'm a part of Tempest. So I had two hats on the committee. So we had representation from the women's league, Swirl, the men's league, Mall, our biggest league, the mixed league, Mile Zero Ultimate. They had a few members. We had representation from some high school coaches and who would eventually become a Storm coach, which is our provincial team. And then we had representatives from the PSO. So we all got together, and I guess our main focus was how can we make what we started with, our first focus was how can we make the playing experience better for female players? And that was something I was particularly passionate about. That's why I joined the Swirl board. When you play mixed, like going from women's to mixed, sometimes there is a bit of a divide. And I really felt like there were a lot of things we could do. So to let you know what it was like back then with mixed, we were playing indoors 5-on-5 with the default ratio always 3 men, 2 women. Then we'd go outdoors 7-on-7, 4 men, 3 women. And I really felt like we could, get away from that. So we brainstormed as a group, and we actually came up with a number of initiatives. It wasn't easy. Nick and I were actually just chatting yesterday. We bumped into each other on the disc golf course. That's where we're spending all of our time now. Yeah, our new disc golf course. So, and we were kind of reminiscing about how we did really have to work to get people on board with the ideas that we came up with. Some people are just resistant to change, but ultimately you can see in our membership growth, is particularly with our female players, like how far we've come. So just to let you know, I guess, and for anyone who's interested in kind of maybe taking these ideas, some of the things that we came up with, just to start, we started off easy. Every mixed team who would typically have a male captain also had to have a female captain. So now there's at least one of each, one of the binary genders for each team. MZU kind of implemented these as the mixed league. This was their kind of main opportunity to do so because they are the biggest league. They started experimenting with the ratios. So indoor games would become, you could play 3 of one gender in the first half, and then you flip it in the second half. But then actually that has progressed to now when we play indoors, everything is 6-on-6 with a nice equal 3-3. And then when we play outdoors with 7-on-7, we use whiff-diff rule A. We got a lot of kickback. People really thought that we were not going to be able to fill those spots to make up for the extra female players you'd need. But we now have more female members than we've ever had. Another thing that we have started using, and I kind of was using the language we used before, but now we use male matching and female matching when it comes to registration, just so to account for players who don't fit on the binary, who want to still play. You can just let us know who you feel comfortable marking against. And that was kind of where the committee kind of evolved into. So when I joined the UNL board in 2018 as vice president, and I've been vice president still, I signed us up for the Pride Parade, the St. John's Pride Parade in 2019, and we had over 50 of our members march in our little float. So we passed out pamphlets about how, we use inclusive language and how we are welcome to LGBTQ plus players. And so those are just like, I guess some of the main things that we've been doing. But then also I went to the Ultimate Canada Conference in November 2018, and I did some training with, at the time was CAUSE, now it's Canadian Women in Sport. I did a lot of focused learning on how can we make sport, our sport, safe and welcoming for women and girls. So now UNL, we actually have targeted, I guess, programming for women. So we have a women's skill series because I guess there is research that women like to know how to play the game. They like to learn in an environment where they feel safe and can ask questions. And it will even be physically safe. So we have, again, this is Sully's kind of baby. She's run it. We had a bit of a blip with COVID, but we just finished up our second iteration of it. 6 weeks of dedicated learning how to play the game, how to throw properly, and just had basic things. How do you do vertical offense, horizontal offense, but with more advancement? So there's for beginners and intermediate players. So we're really focusing on how can we make our sport, attainable for anyone who wants to play it. And that has been a huge focus. It has been a priority. Our board is equal. We have 5 people who identify as male and 5 people who identify as female on the board. So it's important to have those diverse perspectives and lived experiences, I think, so that your board can then make policies, have those program services in place to kind of reach those audiences that you really want to reach.
That's awesome, Nick. You look like you have something to say.
Melissa really covered all the bases. I'll just add kind of a few takeaways is that I cannot point to one, we've created so many equitable playing opportunities and all of them were embraced and filled. And our female membership has risen significantly. I can't confirm, but I think when the next Ultimate Canada annual report comes out, that Newfoundland will have the most equal representation of male and female ratchet players. In our, I'll point specifically to our Ultimate NL Juniors program, which is called Storm. So it's run by the provincial sport organization, Ultimate Newfoundland and Labrador. In the beginning, we only had one Storm team, and it was the open team. And we had a lot of trouble recruiting female matching players to play. And usually we would get enough to send them off to join with another team, or we would host a lot of players from another team. Knowing that we needed to put more resources in this area, we decided, you know what, we're going to take all of our best coaches, all of our best management, and we're going to focus specifically on our female matching players. We're going to recruit specifically for them and put a lot of resource into that. And now this year, and the last year too, our junior girls team has had way more ladies at tryouts, and there's so much interest just in that area. So we just a really good example and return kind of on investment. We put our resources into developing those playing opportunities, and we've seen the return. And I think Newfoundland and our community is a really good case study out there for creating equitable playing opportunities and seeing success. And I would strongly urge anybody to embrace that in your organization.
It's awesome. I feel like when you're making more space for female matching players and putting energy and effort into that, you're showing people that they're valued in that space. And I can't echo all the things that you're saying enough about being intentional and everything you're saying, Melissa, too, about teaching people the skills so that they have the confidence to go and play in a game. Like, all of the things you're doing are just so awesome. So if you're kind of in a more rural area, or even if you're in an urban place and you want to get more equitable participation, like, this is like, listen to these golden nuggets. These are super awesome things. So you're doing great grassroots initiatives. You're going to rural schools. You are creating more playing opportunities for women. Now, on the flip side, if we're thinking more competitive ultimate, I know you've had a couple athletes make it to the national team. What is the competitive scene, and like how do players get more elite experience if they're from Newfoundland and Labrador?
I'll try and field this one, and then Melissa can add to it. So I made a note here, and I just said, in short, it's really hard. There's no other way to put it. And it puts an incredibly large burden right now on the athlete and how much they are willing to sacrifice in order to kind of pursue that goal. And that's true of anybody who wants to make a national team. But there's a few added wrinkles with being from a very rural and isolated area. And it all comes down to visibility. So our athletes aren't at as many tournaments. It costs more to go to those tournaments. No Newfoundland athlete has ever driven to a club tournament, ever. Mm-hmm. It's just, you just can't do it, right? You need to fly. Yeah. So from an organizational point of view, we know those athletes are out there and they want to pursue those opportunities. In the last couple of years, we've had a couple people make national teams. So Aaron Daly, who was on the podcast. We had Luke Dyer, who made U24 Open. We had Jess Wade, who made the Mixed Masters team, I believe, at the most recent iteration of WMUC. And Melissa, I believe, was at a tryout, right?
Yeah, I tried out for the Masters women. Yep.
Yeah, and we've had athletes who've been on some junior teams in the past, but it's from an organizational point of view, we try to identify those athletes early through our junior programs, and we try to mentor them and give them all the information they need, talk to their parents about what it might look like if your kid wants to try and make a junior national team and what they could have to try and do. I know that not us, but we help connect people. So junior athletes who want to talk to the person that was on the national team, they want to see what it took for you to make there, how you had to train, maybe work out with that person and go throw or go play with them. We had a young lady at our awards gala, and she walked right up to Aaron and she said, wow, you made the national team. I'd love to play with you. And now they play on the same recreational team together and they run sprints together. So there's a lot of that small community stuff that's happening. But from, again, back to an organizational point of view, and I know COVID kind of shut a lot of this down. We've been trying to align ourselves and our junior team and our tryouts with Ultimate Canada. So our athletes go through the same tryouts here in Newfoundland that you would at a junior national tryout. We use the same athletic metrics that Ultimate Canada does. Ultimate Canada has the Data Analytics Working Group, DOG. So it helps to identify and evaluate athletes based on athletic metrics across Canada and highlight people who may excel ultimate. And that's one of the reasons why an athlete of ours was able to be highlighted, get selected, go to a tryout that they might not have been at before, and then make Team Canada. We're also dedicating resources, time, and funding into trying to bring in highly skilled coaches, former coaches and current coaches of Team Canada to see our athletes and also to train our athletes and our coaches. So we have those resources and that knowledge here on the ground. Planned in 2019, but for 2020, but unfortunately put on hold. But we were hoping to get Coach Allison Fisher here in Newfoundland to run some programming for us, for our coaches, for our adult club teams, and for our junior programming. Yeah.
I think one thing you forgot to mention, Nick, is just going back to how isolated we are. Actually, we are an island here in Newfoundland. Labrador is connected, but again, lots of driving. We do offer some funding assistance if we have some elite athletes that are traveling away. They can apply to us because we recognize there's a big financial burden flying all the time. And there's a certain amount of privilege that you need to kind of have to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. So we do have some funding from Sport NL as well. That's kind of like the umbrella, organization for all provincial sport organizations in the province. They offer us some assistance as well. But I think, funding is certainly one obstacle that we're kind of very aware of when it comes to elite opportunities.
So one of the last questions we want to ask here is about, we've talked elite athletes, rural schools, and gender equity and all those things, but you've also done some cool things in terms of allowing opportunities for players that are a little bit more seasoned in the game, maybe, or maybe playing for their first time, but a little bit older. So it's called Soul. I like the name. So maybe first off, can you share like how the name started with like Soul, like SOUL, I believe that's what it stands for, correct?
Yeah. So Soul.
So why don't you just talk about Soul? Yeah, that's sweet.
Okay, so Soul is the St. John's Oldies Ultimate League. It was founded by a group of players who had took a chance and played in the mixed league. Some of them former Ultimate players getting back into the sport, and some of them just new people looking to stay active. After playing against some younger, faster competition, they decided that maybe they wanted a space of their own. And one of the founding members, and actually my partner's mother, approached me about the league, and the men's league that I run, Mall, ran a pilot league for them. It instantly sold out the 50 spots that we had. And then they formed their own league. They have a board of directors. They've grown to over 100 members, surpassing the men's league and the women's league. Wow. They play once a week. They do tons of they do soul disc golf. They do soul yoga. And it's, I would say like it's a lot of people who they didn't play Ultimate, that they were looking for something fun that they could do probably with their partner, a recreational new activity. And they've just embraced it and ran with it. Soul is talking about having a club team to compete in great Grandmasters Club Ultimate tournaments.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool, and it's very like they do a great job of showing everybody how fun it is. When you see kids having fun playing Ultimate and laughing and like it's so pure, that's what you get when you watch a Soul game. It's amazing. I organized a parents and kids game for Soul players or Great Grandmasters League players, and it was like one of the funnest things I did in Ultimate. Newfoundland and Labrador offered a Masters Skill Series, a clinic series to add to our skill development series run by Sully for Masters age players, and it was the large majority of them were Soul members learning how to play Ultimate for the first time and then going off and playing League. They've already got league rivalries that are really heated and people get fired up about.
Like it.
And my own mom, who's like not athletic at all, like she doesn't play sports, she took part in one of the Masters skill clinics just so she could learn how to throw a frisbee. So when she went home and seen one of her friends, they could throw a frisbee together, which I thought was super cool. Yeah. And the Great Grandmasters, is that 50 plus? 'Cause I think Grandmasters is 40, right? Like I'm not sure what that looks like. And is that still going on now amidst the pandemic, or what's that look like in terms of the future of the league? So Great Grandmasters is 45 plus for female matching players and 50 plus for male matching players. They ran a skills and drills series throughout the pandemic when they could, and then their league opened up and I believe played for the first time this summer last Monday. I think they reached capacity at 72 players. They've got big ambitions of continuing to grow, and if you look at our bar chart of demographics in Newfoundland, it kind of goes and swells out where you think it was, and then right at the bottom the bars for 45 and 50 plus shoot out again in this statistical anomaly and Ultimate demographics.
I love that it's like in not a lot of places does it seem like a lifelong sport, but you're doing some incredible things. Everything you're doing sounds like it's super fun. And on that topic, I would love to hear maybe from Melissa, what is a fun fact or tidbit or something about your organization you can share with the world?
So I guess maybe just we've been pretty serious here talking about all of our programs and services and all those sorts of things. And I was trying to consider what is fun about us. And I couldn't get past like the idea of cats. Like we have a UNL Snapchat group and it's like an alarming amount of cat content. I have a cat allergy, so I don't have a cat, but I counted it up and on our board, we have 12 cats.
Wow.
So I had to turn off notifications for Snapchat, but I do check it, once a day. Like I gotta see what Nick's cats are up to. Nick has 3, Nick and Aaron have 3, Hillary has 3, Sarah has 2, David has 2, Curtis and Brandon have 1. And then we also have a couple of dogs. Sully and Lana have dogs. So there's lots of nice pet content, mix in. Right now, we also have a lot of disc golf content. That's kind of, we have that new course that opened up at the end of May. So, we're definitely branching out that way. But, and this might be a good opportunity too, to mention that we're actually, our Storm team, our provincial team, as well as our youth tournaments are sponsored by a local, vet clinic, VSC. So just kind of tie that in. All of our board pets end up going there, and they offer great service and they're supportive of Ultimate in the community and helps us a lot. So shout out to them.
I have probably the most important question of the day. Nick, what are your cats' names, and are they Ultimate related?
Oh, none of them are Ultimate related. So the first cat's name is Gus. He's named after the mouse from Cinderella. Then there's Olive, which I got for Christmas in 2017. And I just really like olives, and it sounded like a cool name. And the third cat, which I got for my 30th birthday, is named Annie. And I had to text my friend who has a cat named Andy, and I said, hey, are we the type of guys that get mad at each other if we name our cats the same thing? And he said, I sure hope not. So I named my cat Annie too.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, we want to thank both of you for coming in, taking time out of your busy schedules, probably disc golfing, but Ultimate's starting back up too. So probably doing a bit of those things. And thank you for coming in and sharing all your experiences there.
It was a blast.
Thanks so much for having us. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, we got serious, but we got fun at the end. So I like the mix there. And maybe you can put in a team that's named after some cats or something for a one-off tournament or something like that. Maybe in the future, based on the fun fact you shared with us. So
we'll start brainstorming now for some good names. Maybe tie in some Newfoundland heritage folklore in with that. We'll get on it. We'll let you know.
Yeah, keep us updated.
Yeah, definitely keep us updated. So right now we're going to head to our Beaver Tales segment with our guest Carla Rawson. She has a cool Team Canada story that involves some tattoos, so that's pretty cool. So stay tuned for that for our Beaver Tales segment, and we're going to hit the theme song. And thanks again to our guests for coming on.
All Beavers unite.
Welcome back. It's our Beaver Tales segment. We love the song, of course. But now we're doing our Beaver Tales segment where you can submit stories from across Canada. We get stories from across Canada about Ultimate. And today we get to hear from a special guest. So, Danie, who do we have today?
Well, if you're watching on the YouTube, you can see who it is. But if you are listening to this, it's still a secret. But we have Carla Rawson, and you've got a really cool story about a Team Canada tattoo. Is that correct?
That is right. That's correct.
Yeah. Lay it on us. We're ready.
Yes. So quick TLDR about me. So I'm from the lovely city of Toronto, center of the universe.
Let's go.
And I started playing in the junior scene. I started with Overdrive. That turned into Toro. Then I went to Western, played on the Mustangs for 5 years, doing my undergrad and master's. I played on PPF for a summer, Toxics a summer, kind of done a bit of everything. And then in 2016, I was on the U20 team that went to Worlds in Poland. And that's kind of where this story starts. So the story starts at a training camp in Vancouver, actually, that happened a month or so before the tournament. And it was a conversation between myself, Laura Kinoshita, and Lucy Chow. And Laura was like, have you guys ever thought of a tattoo pact? We were just kind of talking. And I was kind of I'd do it. she was like, yeah, like if we won Worlds, would you get a tattoo? I'd be like, yeah, why not? It was also like the summer after first year. So I was just like having a time. And it was also just like an exciting experience in general. So we just like had this chat. So then flash forward like a month, a couple weeks, however long it was. And we're like in Poland. And this tattoo pact joke keeps coming up. And so eventually it turns into a full thing where we are trying to convince people on this team that they should get tattoos if we win Worlds, specifically like a maple leaf. So it was me and then two other girls on the team who were like pretty much down, who were kind of like, yeah, I'd do it. But also it was like still like throughout the tournaments, we're like kind of seeing how we did. And so the whole tournament obviously builds up specifically to like the finals, and especially juniors. At that time specifically, everyone kind of knew it was like Canada-US final. Like that was really the epitome of the tournament. And so the final itself was just kind of like wild of like, we went up, they went up, and ended in that crazy like universe point. And so we like actually won it. And it's not that like we didn't believe that we would win it. I think it genuinely, we were all like, we're going to do it. But, you know, when it's universe point, you're sitting on the sideline. I remember talking to some girls after, and some of them were like, I didn't think we were going to do it. But then some of us were also like, yeah, like I knew in my core that we were going to win. So we win. And then this conversation now comes up of like, okay, you made this deal that you had to get these tattoos. Like you have to do it. So that night it ended up happening. All the tattoo shops we Googled were exclusively in Polish. None of us could speak Polish, and it just like wasn't a good idea. So me and the two girls who were pretty much down, we just so happened to be traveling for like the next week, and we happened to be in Prague at the exact same time. So me and my two friends who I was traveling with, and they like, we all met up, got lunch, that kind of thing. So me and the two other girls who I'm traveling with get a message, and they're like, Carla, are you actually down to get this tattoo? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, let's do it. So they booked an appointment at this tattoo shop in Prague. We go to the tattoo shop, very credible. Like it's a licensed place. Like it isn't sketchy at all. But the tattoo artist is like a Czech man who's never seen a maple leaf before. So we literally had to like Google it and show him as he made the stencil. And so, yeah, we did it. So I got on my rib cage. One of them got it on her wrist. The other one got it like, I think on like her side or something like that. And we got these little maple leaf tattoos. And then we like went for dinner, did karaoke, and it was like a great time. And so the story itself is like really funny of it just kind of like a joke escalating. But I think for me, the tattoo has really come to like symbolize a lot more. I think obviously like my own experience in Ultimate of, you know, ever since I knew there was a Team Canada, I knew I wanted to try and get to that level. And especially in like 2013 when U23, U24s were in Toronto, my coach, Erica Tucker, was on like the women's team. And I remember like going to a game and watching her and being like, I want to do this. Like, this is so cool. And obviously like for playing for 5 years, coming through the junior system, going to Western, like having all these experiences, it was like a really nice like culmination. But then also I think a really big part of it as well is throughout the experience, I was really given the opportunity to really reflect on my identity as a Canadian. And our coach, Carla Filippo, had this really great chat with us one of the training camps where she's like, never forget how like proud and privileged you are to be here. Like you're young women playing sport at the highest level. You have access to incredible education, healthcare. You can marry who you want. You have so many rights that like never forget what a privilege this opportunity is. And I think that really rung true for me, like traveling, and even like in our travels, we just happened to be like near Auschwitz. So me and the two teammates I was traveling with went there one day, and just kind of really reflecting on that was a really important process for me. And I think even now, as like I've grown with this tattoo and I've had it for 5 years, it's really also made me reflect on some of the tough spots in Canadian history and some of the really like horrific parts of our past, specifically towards the treatment of like Indigenous peoples. And I think that's also important to kind of like be able to recognize your privilege and how proud you are to be from a place, but also recognizing the faults in it and how you can do better for the next generation of Canadians. So it's my little reminder of why I'm proud to be Canadian, but it's also my reminder of why we need to do better, and we need to acknowledge that. So yeah, that's my that's for my little lopsided maple leaf.
Wait, it's lopsided?
It's like a little crooked. It's like, it's not perfect. You're like, oh, that's an no. And then you look at it and you're like, okay, it's a little off. But yeah. So
I mean, it's artsy, it's abstract. I like that. Okay, well, first of all, the wonderful story, like charming, educational, the whole thing, and I love how the meaning of your tattoo has changed over time. I think that's a really cool aspect. I have like this one memory that I'm going to quickly share because when I was at UVic, we were like really, really bad in my first and second year. Like we were like below 100th in North America in college, and we made a pact that if we ever made it to USA college nationals, we would get like the fox or the vixen like on our butts. We backed out. So I just want to say we ended up making it, but like props to you for following through. Spoiler alert, do not have a fox on my butt. So I'm impressed and I'm proud of you all for sticking to it. And I guess you don't want to name drop who didn't or who did.
I don't know if they'd be mad at me or not.
That's fair. No. We can do that in subscriber only.
Two Vancouverites and then someone from Quebec. And the girl yeah. So, but.
I'm going to go on that roster and I'm going to do some process of elimination and I'm going to figure it out.
We're going to figure it out. We'll do some sleuthing.
Yeah. But, yeah. And even I'm going to call back about like teams and things like that because I watched Jonah's episode and he kind of talked about being on a team that's like greater than the sum of its parts. And I have to say that Canadian team as well was definitely like the epitome of that. Like a great group of gals. And I think that also went into it where it was like, when you have such a close relationship with your team and your teammates, it's like, it's easy to buy into things like that. And it's easy to like trust each other and, know that you're getting something that memorializes like an overall great experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And, well, the question I have with the lopsidedness is that the same for like all the girls who got it? Do they also have kind of a lopsided maple leaf on their bodies as well?
I wouldn't call them lopsided. I think they're all just like, they're not perfect. But much like a natural maple leaf, no two leaves are the same. So that's my cliche answer to that. So they're not lopsided. They're just a little they're a little funky, but they're not bad.
I feel like that year was the last junior, well, I guess in 2018. In 2020, it didn't happen. So that was the last time the juniors have won.
Yeah.
I'm sure that feels pretty special to be a part of something like that.
Yeah. I think we kind of knew it was like a special team. Like even I think when you look at that roster, you're like, wow, like just some incredible talent and like not only like some incredible athletes, but just like some really great brains and some really like very skilled players in general. And again, it was like, it wasn't just we were good. It's like we genuinely enjoyed each other. And I think that's a huge part of it as well.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming onto our Beaver Tales segment and sharing your story. And if you are all more curious about Carla, we're going to head over to our subscriber only section. So you should too get an Ultiworld subscription. We're going to do Hot Seat with Carla. We're going to find out Carla's origin story and dig a little bit deeper into her ultimate career. And yeah, we just wanted to thank you for submitting a story. If you want to be like Carla and submit a story, you can go to all of our socials. It's hosted on our Instagram and you can win some sick merch as well. So thanks again, Carla.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, Beaver party tonight. Oh.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to this awesome episode all about Newfoundland and Labrador Ultimate. Next week, we're going to have Morgan Hibbert and Sarah Boback on the pod, and we're going to be talking about all things Worlds qualifying years. And if you don't really understand what that means, it does completely change the landscape of Canadian Ultimate whenever it comes around. So we're going to be talking about how it affects the teams being selected and how, like, not only the club teams, but also the national teams and what happens. So it's going to be super exciting. Theo, I know you have a lot of questions about it, and we're going to get answers next week.
Yeah, I'm fired up. It's going to be a spicy episode, as they say. And if you're in the audience and you got some hot takes related to this topic, maybe how national teams should be selected or what, CUC should look like during those world qualifying years, any of those things, send us a message. Where, you ask? Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Huckin_A, all that stuff. Huckin_A@ultiworld.com. You can reach us there. And also, like a YouTuber, I'm going to tell you to like and subscribe to Ultiworld, like the video, help it boost on the so-called YouTube algorithm and help them out as well. And also, be a subscriber. Subscribe. You can do the mini subscription. You can do, the full or the different subscriptions available at ltworld.com. And then you can check out our subscriber only segment we have with our Beaver Tales winner, Carla Rawson. We're going to put her on the hot seat, give her some great questions, and then hear about her ultimate origin story. So if you're a subscriber, you can stay tuned for that. And if not, you should subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, this is Dom Ryu from Stella Ultimate in Ottawa, Ontario. You are listening to the Huckin' A podcast, your coast-to-coast guide for all things Canadian Ultimate.